strange things are happening in Saudi Arabia before qiyama. Now this thing that is happening in Saudi Arabia, I will mention to you, but before I do that, I want you to consider subscribing to the channel, because we talk about end of time in this channel a lot. We talk about Yajuj and Majuj, Ad-Dajjal, Euphrates River, and then we talk about Galilee Sea, many other topics related to the end of time. So again, if you're new here, consider subscribing. Now, what is this strange thing that is happening right now in Saudi Arabia? But before I do that, I want to tell you a few things. In the 8th century, very important for you to understand, okay? Don't go away. 8th century, 8th century. Pope Gregory III, he declared November 1st as the day to honor all saints. Means, Pir, Wali Allah, back in our country, they have this mazar, right? So he said, this is the day, November 1st is the day, we need to praise them, remember them. Why? Because they helped us warding off all the ghosts, all the demons, bad things that are supposed to be happening to us. These saints, they have protected us, so we need to honor them. November 1st is the day we need to go to the mazar, in other words, and respect and honor and worship those graves. Or shirk, but this is what he said, Pope Gregory III. This is something that is going on for a long time in Muslim culture, in Islamic tradition. Halloween, Halloween was not celebrated in Saudi Arabia. I'm talking about in Saudi Arabia publicly, until Mohammed bin Salman came to power and declared his Vision 2030. As you remember, he said Vision 2030, we are going to change Saudi Arabia into a Western country, European countries. This is going to be, in fact, he said, a new Europe, end quote. A store manager in Saudi Arabia, he said, people are lining up for 40 minutes, more than, in some cases, 40 minutes, just to buy costumes. What kind of costume? Costumes of, the devil, the demon, to mark this pagan ritual. Few things I want to mention to you, dear brothers and sisters, what is happening right now in Saudi Arabia. And as you can see right behind me, these are pictures of Halloween that are happening. Now, before I tell you this particular strange sign more in details, I want to tell you a few things that is very, very important for all of us to understand. Number one, whenever we talk about strange things, sign of qiyama happening in Saudi Arabia, a lot of people have problem. They say, well, why don't you talk about Turkey or other countries? Well, we are talking about Saudi Arabia, and the reason we talk about Saudi Arabia is because this country is the land of the prophets, the best of the creation. Rasulullah SAW is there. His Rawda is there. Why should we not talk about that particular country and talk about other countries like Turkey or other country, even like UAE? Why should we focus on other countries, Muslim countries, when the best of creation, Rasulullah, his land is that country? Number one. Number two, dear brothers and sisters, something very, very important for all of us to understand also, which is that, this Vision 2030, Vision 2030, before that, before MBS came into power, there was nothing called celebrating any kind of Halloween in Saudi Arabia. There was nothing like that. Rasulullah SAW, he said, this is something that is going to happen. He said, the Prophet, he said, لا تقوم الساعة حتى, he said, لا تقوم الساعة حتى تلحق قبائل من أمتي بالمشركين وحتى يعبدوا الأوثان. And this is a hadith reported in Tirmidhi. This is Sahih hadith, Tawban narrated. The Prophet said that the hour will not establish until tribe of my ummah will worship or join the mushrik and they worship their Lord. This is a prophecy, and dear brothers and sisters, if you have any doubt in your mind whether this was prophesied or not, here it is, you have it. Now, number 3 point that I also want to mention to you, dear brothers and sisters, is that this Vision 2030 and Halloween celebration in Saudi Arabia, you will be with those whom you love. Rasulullah SAW, he said that man tashabbaha biqawmi fahuwa minhum. Those who you love, you will be with them. Means on the day of judgment, you'll be resurrected with them. And another point I want to mention to you, dear sisters, the blame is also squarely on us. What is happening right now in Saudi Arabia with Halloween and bringing these statues and idols, it is not only the Saudi government, it is not only MBS. I said it many times. It is also us. Why it is us? Because if you take a look at the story of Musa alayhi salam, when Samiri, he built this calf, golden calf, Musa alayhi salam did not hold Samiri responsible first. If you do not know, read the story of the Prophet Musa alayhi salam. He held responsible the people of Samiri and his brother first, then Harun alayhi salam, and then he went to Samiri. So when we see this kind of pagan rituals taking place, and we are seeing these alamat, the strange signs coming in Saudi Arabia and being played out right in front of us, it is not to blame only one person. If we blame only MBS or his government, then it will be a huge mistake. We need to put the blame squarely on us, people like you and me, even though we are not living in Saudi Arabia. The reason for that is because we are keeping silent. If we are quiet, if we are not raising our voice, then wallahi, we are just as responsible as MBS. The other point that I want to mention is the story of Nuh alayhi salam, because this is a reminder, and I love to remind all of you, and including myself, about the the danger that we might be facing if we are not creating awareness. So I want to take this opportunity to tell you a few things. During the time of Adam alayhi salam to time of Nuh alayhi salam, there was 12 tribes. Now there was one righteous man. His name is Waddan. Okay, Waddan was a righteous man who was loved by his people. When he died, what they did is they withdrew to his grave, means they went to his grave in the land of Babylonia and were overwhelmed by sadness. So people, once Waddan died, okay, people were very, very emotional. They said, you know what, we need to go to his grave and cry over his grave and express our grief, our sorrow, our loss. So they were overwhelmed. They were doing it too much. So what Shaitan did is, Shaitan noticed that, and he came to these people and he said that, I see this, you guys are very, very sad, you guys are crying, grieving. Should I tell you something that will help you to lessen your grief? They said, what is that? The Shaitan, Iblis, he told them, he came in the form of a human being. He told them that, look, what you should do is you should build a statue. In fact, I will build it for you. So he built a statue for them. Why he built a statue for them is because that way they will remember the guy, righteous guy Waddan, and they will become also righteous just like him. So over time, Shaitan said, he came again, he said, why don't you let me build this statue in every household instead of one statue? So people will come, they will do counseling, gathering like a parliament, and the statue will be there and people will remember him. So he said, why don't you put these statues in your household, every household? And this is reported by Ibn Hatim. Okay, so people say, oh, that's a good idea, even better idea. If he's in our houses, then it is much better. We'll remember him even more. So Shaitan then built these statues, these idols in his house, and then he left. What happened, dear my sisters, generations after generation came, and they forgot why the statue was built, because it was built to remember that man. What then? They started to worship him. They took him as a deity other than Allah, min dunillah. The point here is that when this pagan ritual takes place in Saudi Arabia, in the beginning people will say, well, this is just another step towards becoming independent of oil, or becoming financially independent, not to have to rely on a world market or on a dollar power or petrodollar, nothing. This is a good thing. And the point is that people will say this is a good thing. In reality of it is being done by who? The Iblis, Shaitan. He is whispering in our ears always to do bad things. So today it is the Halloween, tomorrow it will be why don't you just build some statue remembering Halloween every day, and the next year it would be like, why don't you build more of them, have every household celebrate. And then the next year you will see even the MBS he's celebrating, he's asking everybody now openly, you must celebrate Halloween, otherwise you are not part of the society. And the next year you will see that people will forget why this Halloween started. Then they will start worshipping those Halloween, those statues. And so the point here is that it will crawl up slowly but surely. It will make sure that people, as the Prophet said, لا تقوم الساعة حتى تلحق قبائل من أمتي بالمشرك, that the hour will not establish. This is, in other words, a sahih hadith, and this is a condition that we, followers of Rasulullah will end up worshipping the idols just like the mushrik. we, dear brothers and sisters, need to take it seriously, stop it right on the track, say to the government, you can do whatever you want, but we are not going to celebrate. Everyone who is involved in celebration of this pagan ritual, dear brothers and sisters, will be held accountable by Allah Azza wa Jal, and that is between them and Allah, not with us. Our responsibility is to create awareness, tell everybody what is ma'ruf, what is good, and what is munkar. That's all our job. That's all we do. Jazakallah khair for tuning in. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.